me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls. Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no-spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Ella.
And I'm not.
Charlie, that's your name.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Charlie, would you rather...
Wait. Oh. Just real quick, I'm going to write that down. Now, how do you spell that?
E-Y.
E-Y. Okay, that's
E-Y.
interesting. Yes, okay.
Charlie, E-Y, would you rather fight 100 Duck-tective-sized Grunkle Stans or one Grunkle Stan-sized Duck-tective?
I think fighting a duck wouldn't be that hard. Now, if it were a goose-tective.
Oh, yeah, well, no. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
A goosem shoe.
Yeah.
I think I would fight the giant duck.
Okay, there you go. I was thinking about that thought experiment in general. And why does it assume that if we encountered horse-sized ducks or duck-sized horses, that our instinct would be to fight them?
Who was this thought experiment created for?
Yeah, that seems like faulty logic, that we would see animals of abnormal sizes and go, that's not right. I'm gonna beat the crap out of that thing.
Wasn't boxing based off of how kangaroos fight?
Oh, yeah, maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's something deep within us. So what are we supposed to talk about today?
We're supposed to be we've talked about 30 things that aren't. Double Dipper, the 7th episode of the first season of Gravity Falls, which aired on August 10th, 2012 on the Disney Channel.
Ah, all right then. I think we can handle that.
Oh, I had a few more things to say about kangaroos and my name spelling and
Chevy Chase.
It started.
Butterflies!
Does it even work?
Dipper's unbelievable discovery.
I think this copier can copy human beings!
Leads to a peculiar plan.
I gotta get in there. Cover for me?
Well,
Thanks, man.
Only I could be two places at once. I will call you number 2. Definitely not.
While Mabel
Who's that? The most popular girl in town, Pacifica Northwest.
takes a stand.
Try and top that. I'm gonna do a flip! That was for you guys!
All new Gravity Falls. Friday, August 10th at 9, 8 Central. Part of Night of Premieres on Disney Channel.
So we just watched Double Dipper.
I love this one.
At the risk of, again, being redundant, this is one of my favorites, personally.
All right, well, here's a controversial take instead of being redundant. I previously said that I thought Gobblewonker was my favorite from this part of season 1A.
Oh? Are you changing?
I think it's Double Dipper.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So there we go.
I'm glad we both recognize this episode as the best one of early season 1. Basic premise is that there is a party at the Mystery Shack that Grunkle Stan is hosting to try to lure kids and teens into, becoming Mystery Shack customers.
The way they would come up with episode ideas is think about awkward moments from middle school. And they would find so many fun stories that were not even in the slightest related to the summer, and started to feel pretty limited.
Mm-hmm.
That every story had to take place in the summer. So there is, let's be real, a school dance at the Mystery Shack.
Yeah. That's basically the preteen awkward vibe that they're going for. But also, I feel like maybe it's just me because I am not Dipper as much anymore, and I enjoy parties. The vibe of, there's a party that is, brewing, and you're about to, attend it is, really good in this episode. I feel it when they're upstairs in their room, getting ready for the party that is going to happen downstairs in their house, and, people are starting to arrive. That is such a specific, really exciting vibe for me. So that's part of why I love this episode.
For a brief moment in my life, I lived in a very large house, and when we lived there, my dad and my sisters would have constant house parties.
Yeah.
So I've experienced that many times.
Yeah, the anticipation of it is
So I think what makes this the best one
yeah.
of season 1A is what really, really makes Gravity Falls is Dipper and Mabel.
Yes.
And this episode has the perfect Dipper moments and the perfect Mabel moments.
Yes, 100%. So Dipper, this is a continuation of what we set up in The Inconveniencing, where Dipper has a crush on Wendy, and he wants to dance with her at this party, but, has this very specific, detailed plan for how to do it, and ends up using this copy machine that Stan allegedly fixed up, but he ends up using it to create clones of himself, which leads to, like, the perfect Dipper episode, because it is just Jason Ritter bantering with himself, which is perfect and chock full of, like, the greatest line reads ever.
There is a 2001 Oscar-nominated short film called Copy Shop, which is about a magical copy machine that produces clones.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had heard of that or it's a coincidence, but I've seen that short, and it's fantastic, and I do actually recommend it to our listeners.
And that concept alone is so well executed here. Like, it works really well for animation because the clones have a slightly desaturated color palette because, like, as if the copier is running out of ink and toner. And when they first appear, they have this, like, halftone effect that I love.
Yeah, that looks like a comic book or newsprint.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all missing the pine tree on their hat, which allows, one, us to distinguish them from Dipper Prime.
Dipper Classic.
Dipper Classic. And two, allows new Dipper, now more than ever Dipper is it, to have a number on his hat, which will come in handy when Dipper decides he does not have enough clones to make Wendy like him.
Oh yeah, I love how it snowballs, like, out of control.
Yeah, it's just like, it snowballs out of control the second after he comes up with the plan, because when he lies down on the copy machine, he says,
I wonder if this is a good idea.
It's a very tropey plot, but Dipper being Dipper is, like, aware of that the entire time. It's just like, hey, you know how this always happens in clone stories? How are we gonna deal with that? And he's like, nah, we'll figure it out. This is you're talking about.
I love all of these moments where they play with the perspective of sentences, like have to have it third person and first person at the same time.
Hey, buddy, it's me. You.
Or when they try to share information that they already knew because they're the same person.
We're not gonna get jealous and turn on each other like the clones in the movies, are we? Dipper, please. This is you're talking about. Plus, hey, you can always just disintegrate me with water. Yeah.
And it leads to just strange lines that Jason Ritter delivers perfectly.
Strange lines that feel very natural at the same time. Like, it's like, yeah, that is how, like, a human would talk to a clone of themselves. Which, again, is because Alex Hirsch is good at writing naturalistic dialogue.
It's very funny to see someone interacting with clones of themselves in such a casual way. And I think almost 60% of the comedy in this episode comes from the fact that that's not how anything else has ever been written.
The whole arc of the episode is, like, a huge part of why it is one of my favorites. Because, the symbol of Dipper's anxiety and his commitment to his plan and how it spirals out of control is, like, this giant list that he takes out of his pocket. Do we want to read the steps?
You know what? I just remembered that my most popular voice is Dipper Pines, and I have yet...
Yeah, you want Dipper to go over his plan for us?
Step 1, smile. Step 2, wear clean pants. Step 3, compliment her jokes. Step 4, laugh at her jokes. Step 5, be nice. Step 6, block Robbie. Step 7, wear fitted clothing. Step 8, wear a tie. Step 9, talk to her like a normal person. Step 10, describe how she smells. Step 11, make her laugh. Step 12, agree with everything she says. Step 13, pretend you're fun. Step 14, pretend you're confident. Step 15, mop up sweat in private. Step 16, lose burrito smell.
That one's my favorite.
Step 17, pretend to read smart books. Step 18, use deodorant everywhere. Step 19, display Monstermon knowledge. Step 20, Do not display Monstermon knowledge.
All right, good plan, Dipper. And like,
I love that he is absolutely not even sure if he's supposed to info dump about Pokemon in these contexts at all.
yeah, so many of these steps contradict previous steps, which I love, or like are out of order.
There are a lot of younger heterosexual people I have met that don't realize they need a partner they're allowed to talk about their favorite things with. I've met people who are like, well, obviously I can't talk about World of Warcraft on a date. And I'm like, then you're on the wrong date.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you just keep looking.
I said, then if that person doesn't want to talk about your favorite show, then they are not good enough for you.
This is a great story for talking about anxiety and OCD. And like, as someone who has OCD and experiences very like similar emotions of like, we have to do these exact steps or I will die.
We write down notes for the episodes before we record them. Only on one occasion, mind you. It's not like this is something I'm constantly worried about. But on one occasion, I told you to stop meticulously hitting every note we wrote down in order.
Yeah, it was a learning curve for me to be like, okay, if it doesn't fit with the natural flow of the conversation, it's okay to like
not say it at all.
Yeah. Which is hard to get through to me with this. That's the way that my brain works. And I've talked to friends with similar brains to me, not just you, but people who are also the left brain, agree that this is like such a good visual metaphor, like with the clones being a physical presence that can represent an overcommitment to a plan or a structure that ultimately ends up getting in its own way. Like literally, as they say in the episode.
Mabel, of course, is me and the right brain community's representation. But in this episode, someone tries to be rude to her and tries to become her rival, and she just completely resists it because she's so friendly.
Yeah, so we meet Pacifica Northwest, the perfect foil to Mabel.
Mabel doesn't care what anyone thinks about her and is very nice. So Pacifica Northwest is a mean person who constantly worries about how people see her.
I'm Mabel.
That sounds like a fat old lady's name.
I'll take that as a compliment.
And that's them in a nutshell.
I had always assumed Jackie voiced Pacifica because she was a producer on Fish Hooks and Flapjack, where Alex Hirsch worked previously. But apparently, as an extension of Alex Hirsch being the world's first mega fan of Justin Roiland, the creator of Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites, he listened to every episode of the podcast that Justin Roiland hosted with Jackie Buscarino, the Grandma's Virginity podcast.
Alex Hirsch,
Yeah.
who was a fan of the podcast. Actually,
Justin.
he's really the only one who gave me like a lot of
Shout.
shows.
What was
and
your?
stuff.
You were a big character. in
Pacifica,
Gravity
yeah,
Falls,
she
right?
was cool too, and like a
Jackie,
jerk.
you
And
wanna
I
know
love
why?
that. And
You
she
wanna
was
know
a
why?
villain, and
Jackie,
I love that about
do you
her.
want to know why?
And I find it hilarious that Alex has the level of control that if he likes someone's podcast enough, they can be a major character.
Her main thing is behind the scenes on cartoons.
Her biggest job she's ever had was the line producer on Steven Universe. A line producer is effectively the person who writes the schedules. So when the borders are due, when we have access to Cartoon Network's recording booth, which voice actors are showing up when.
But I guess this was her first voice role, possibly?
I think she had minor roles in shows she produced, but this is absolutely the first time she has voiced in a cartoon that she was not working as a producer on.
Yeah, because Steven Universe fans will know her as Vidalia, but she was behind the scenes on that.
So she is not a trained performer, as is the case with a lot of the people Alex picks, and had to do so many takes of the brief song she sings.
Always means forever. Always.
But other than the struggle she had with that, is amazing as this character.
Oh my god, it's so good.
And I know we say that every time a new voice actor shows up, but that's because the voice acting is amazing in this show. I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to apologize for it.
We're not gonna lie and say that some aren't as good, like, They're all perfect.
Mabel treats a party like I would, or you do now, and makes new friends.
Yeah.
And that is how we are introduced to Candy Chew and Grenda Grendinator.
I guess that's okay to say.
Yeah, they're not
because
spoilers.
They don't come up. Yeah.
So Candy and Grenda are voiced by storyboarders Nikki Yang and Carl Ferrullo. Nikki Yang is a storyboarder on Gravity Falls. Carl Ferrullo is a storyboarder she has worked with in the past.
I remember just being very loud at work, and we happened to sit next to each other, and we were already kind of best friends. It just kind of evolved into me screaming and her responding and Alex listening.
And then I think a visually very interesting composition going on. Like, Carl is huge and I'm so tiny.
And of course, Nikki Yang is voiced on shows she boarded before, most famously BMO on Adventure Time.
Beaver Chop! If this were a real attack, you'd be dead.
So Candy and Grenda are kind of based on what it is like to work in an office with Nikki and Carl.
Mm-hmm. They have a really good dynamic, and I love them together as well as apart, but...
Can we say the elephant in the room?
Yeah, no, I was going to. Grenda is only a little bit transphobic, because they constantly point out her deep voice.
Mm-hmm. I think the idea of Nikki sounds fit to play a preteen girl, her real-life best friend does not, but he is voicing one regardless, is funny. But some of the jokes about...
In execution, yeah.
And I think I've realized what they thought the joke was at the time. Because there's a discussion of when Alex would rewrite Mabel stuff that other writers did. Yes, it's girly, but that's the starting point. It can't just be a waffle. It has to be a waffle with big arms. You have to make it weird.
Mm-hmm.
Mabel and Candy are both these very unconventional, live in their own world characters.
Yeah. Candy tapes forks to her fingers in this episode to pick up more popcorn.
Improvement of human being.
So I think they felt to have the sleepover plots and whatnot you would need with a preteen girl group, you need one that is just cartoonishly girly. And much like anything Mabel likes, they had to find something weird about that.
They had to find a twist, yeah.
So Grenda, I don't think it's controversial to say she is the girliest character in the show.
Yeah, but they don't twist it enough, because the only thing that they twist is the voice and I guess the physical strength.
And it's talking about future episodes, but I just want you guys, if you are trans and felt uncomfortable watching it.
I sure was.
They gradually shift the joke to be Grenda is the most girly girl on the planet.
Yeah, and I think they give it to her more generously without like... I don't even think here they're making fun of her necessarily, but it feels like they gradually get more on her side of like, yeah, like hell yeah, Grenda.
Yeah. There are I think 2 jokes about her voice in this episode, or 3 jokes about her voice in this episode. There are only 2 for the rest of the series.
She moves from being the butt of the joke.
I think. In conclusion, my closing statements on Grenda: is she a transphobic stereotype? Yes. Do I love her and support her? Yes.
Yeah, same.
My emotional support transphobic caricature.
Yeah, exactly. I need her on this airplane. So Mabel, for the party, dresses in what is probably my favorite outfit that she wears in the entire series.
Oh my god.
So just beautifully 80s.
The baggy leg warmers and wrist warmers.
And the giant bow on her head, and the shirt strap, one shoulder is down.
Oh, so good.
Very good. And the triangle earrings.
It is a crime that you have not cosplayed that outfit yet.
You're so right, but I wouldn't even call that cosplay. I just call that going out.
Well, no. Here's how I've acquired every cool article of clothing I own. I buy it for a cosplay, which is why I justify spending money on clothes, and then I'm like, this is nice. I should wear it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. She sings "Don't Start Unbelieving" in this episode, another very on the nose song parody, like in the previous episode.
Excellent. Don't start unbelieving. Never do not feel your feelings. I'm gonna do a flip. That was
really, really good. And the animation is stellar. There's a lot of good, like, expressions and visual jokes in this episode.
Yeah, the background characters are almost over-designed. Like,
Yeah. I fixate on all of them. Like, they're almost distractingly well-designed or, like, interesting to look at.
half of the episode was boarded by Matt Brawley, half of it was boarded by Alonso Ramirez Ramos, who are respectively the creator of Amphibia and basically the creator of Seuss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they decided to design so many hilarious background characters when hypothetically they didn't need to.
But I'm glad they did. It adds a lot to it.
If you're watching this episode, just pause every time there's a group shot. You'll be doing yourself a favor.
And the animation on Don't Start Unbelieving, as she's singing and Candy and Grenda are providing backup dancing, is amazing. All the dance animation is great. It totally suits each character, whether it's like Dipper kind of doing like a goofy little like side-to-side dance, or Wendy just leaning against the wall and nodding her head, or Mabel doing the worm.
Thompson is just way too into it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably based on Michael Rianda, the resident party liker of the very nerdy Gravity Falls staff.
Yeah, and that was not where they originally were with this episode, right?
Yeah. Alex does not enjoy parties, and Dipper is hypothetically supposed to be him. So there kept being drafts about Dipper's attempts at ruining the party for everyone else, which made him completely unlikable.
Yeah, nobody likes a person who tries to ruin a party. And I don't think he suddenly likes the party in this episode, but his motivation changes to make him more likable.
This is also the episode that reveals that Wendy is the daughter of Manly Dan Corduroy. Sort of. It's not a mystery that they were peppering in there for viewers to try and figure out. But this is the episode where viewers at large noticed it.
That's right, because we get a reveal of Wendy's younger brothers, who are the same three redheaded boys that appeared alongside Manly Dan in Gobblewonker.
There were constant attempts to write an episode in which Wendy was the focus, and every single time it would fall flat, because in Act 3 she would have to learn something about herself and grow as a person, which is not what we want from Wendy.
Yeah, she's too cool for that.
There were a lot of scripts that just had her interacting with her father that kept being cut, and by the time season 1 ended, they realized they just forgot to mention that she was related to the lumberjack.
Yes, but this is, for the first time, you have all the pieces, and you can put it together yourself without the show explicitly saying it.
Which it will do eventually.
Yes, and in the same scene, we get kind of a lore drop. We get a reveal of why Dipper's name is Dipper.
This is the episode that fully reveals that that is not his birth name, that is a nickname.
Mm-hmm. And it's because he has a big old birthmark on his forehead in the shape of the Big Dipper constellation.
I love the moment where he is talking with Wendy outside of the bathroom, because as much as it hurts to say, I think as a assigned male at birth person who is attracted to women, there is a point where you realize they're just regular humans.
Yeah.
And I think that's illustrated so beautifully here when she talks about how she is the black sheep of her family and he relates, and there's this different way he's looking at her than in these fantasies where she's dancing with him in this dress.
Mm-hmm. And then that impacts the rest of his plan and the rest of his, like, outlook on his crush.
And every interaction he has with her for the entire rest of the series.
Yeah. And the fact that it's when Dipper decides to do something un-Dipper-like that the clones betray him. Like, it's not that the clones suddenly act not like Dipper. It's that Dipper suddenly acts not like Dipper.
It's that Dipper grew as a person while the clones weren't present.
Yes, exactly. The clones, in a way, Dipper turned on the clones.
In a way, Act 1 Dipper is the villain of this story, and then he literally has to fight Act 1 Dipper once he is
a version of himself that has not developed, yeah.
I want to say something real quick before we head on over to You Know Where.
Yeah.
You talked about how your first fandom experience with this show happened in Hand That Rocks the Mabel.
Yes.
I had never talked to anyone in real life that had already seen Gravity Falls without my influence. Obviously, these first couple of episodes I watched with my friend Miles.
Yeah, but that's the viewing experience. That's not like...
My first ever time talking to a human about Gravity Falls. I went to New York Comic Con. I was dressed as Fry from Futurama. I encountered not only someone in a Dipper outfit, and not only someone joining them with an actual light-up Mabel sweater, but they had a big poster board cutout of Paper Jam Dipper and a button on the back that when they pressed, it played a clip of, I think it's Alex Hirsch's voice.
Oh, yes. Alex Hirsch plays a Dipper clone that comes out malformed from a Paper Jam, so he just kind of makes noises, so it's not Jason Ritter.
And I distinctly remember, like, making posts with the picture I had taken with them, being like, if you know who these cosplayers are, please put me in contact with them. So, like, at that point, I was so desperate to have a community around this show.
To talk about this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's exactly how I felt with Hand That Rocks the Mabel, like that magical experience of like, oh, this exists outside of the place where I watched it.
I might have gotten into this show in 2012. Because that would have... Because Deep End was the first episode I watched live, and New York Comic Con is always in October.
Yeah, so unless it was October 2013...
I've been saying for a really long time I discovered this show in 2013. Only now am I realizing that's probably incorrect.
I mean, you could say became a fan in 2013?
No, I don't think someone saying, please help me find these cosplayers is not a fan.
No, you're right. Yeah, okay. I guess we're changing we're retconning that. All right, so I think with that, we can head over here.
To the big ballroom that the Mystery Shack, which is built in a house, has for no reason.
Yeah. We'll go there. It's in a new place every episode, apparently.
Like the staircases in Harry Potter. Speaking of transphobia.
Hey!
Ladies and gentlemen, right this way to the Hall of Conspiracy!
Welcome to the Hall of Conspiracies. It is a hallway inside a podcast. It just works.
Don't worry about it. Our conspiracy today comes from the TV Tropes Wild Mass Guesses page.
Chef Tropes cooked this up for us.
Thank you, Chef Tropes.
Used plenty of WMG.
Yes, TV Tropes doesn't source the Wild Mass Guesses, but this one states that Dipper clones number 3 and number 4 will return. Because there's a scene in the episode where Robbie comes back and is talking with Wendy, and Dipper needs to get him out of the picture. So he makes clones 3 and 4 to steal his bike to distract him, so he leaves. But after stealing the bike, 3 and 4 are never seen again. While it might be difficult for the two to survive in a world full of liquids, because it's established that because they're made of paper, they disintegrate with any liquid. They were not confirmed to be dissolved because the clones all melt except for those. We never see them after they steal the bike.
I'm going to need you guys to point out to us when you notice them. Keep on the lookout in the background there.
You never know. They might be right behind you right now.
So we are joined by the Atbash, by Mr. Atbash, our substitute teacher.
That's right, for this week's cryptogram, because the backwards whisper in the beginning is different now.
Usually, the backwards whisper would say 3 letters back, but this time it says, which played backwards is switch A and Z.
And that is how you decode the Atbash cipher. So this week it is, well, do you want to take a crack at this one?
Paper Jam Dipper says,
what could it mean?
Maybe it's in another code?
Maybe it's a code within a code. But yes, Atbash cipher is what the credits are going to use from now until otherwise stated. If you want to find more episodes of this podcast, go to our host network, pipedreampodcast.com. where you can find other shows like Escape from Walt Disney, How Did This Not Get Made, and Come On, Fahuguapods.
While you're there, you can find links to our show's social medias and Discord server. You can also contact us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com.
Thanks to Brian for making the instrumental for our theme song, and for voicing Stan in the Hall of Conspiracies intro. Thanks to Sim and the Dim Bulb V2-0 for making the instrumental of the Hall of Conspiracies intro.
Ella made the theme song. You could find the full version of it at ellachessery.bandcamp.com.
Take me back to the place I know with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started. My heart's in Gravity Falls.
I had never... Hold on.
I had never thundered.
It's just clouds rubbing together. And not only... I get it! Stop farting, God! Okay. Okay, you move on.
Well, he hasn't gone bowling in a while. The pandemic, all the bowling alleys were shut down, so now he's